This is the Saga, or maybe better said, lessons learned when you want to update the furniture on a 21st century rifle, or rifles here, furniture. Hey, that's 20th, maybe even 19th century. That was when rifles and shotguns, long guns, were largely made with wood, the stocks and the handguards and so forth. So I want to show you what I learned. And I learned an awful lot, obviously doing it myself, but more importantly, I watched a number of YouTube videos. Unfortunately, I didn't watch enough YouTube videos for do-it-yourself. Hey, spoiler alert, I'm not going to show you how to make these. There are more than enough videos. You need to go watch the videos and learn for yourself, because they're important lessons that you're going to learn that I picked up that helped me out, and then a few practical things that I did for myself. So in any case, let's get started. Just a frame of reference. The rifle on the bottom is a Smith & Wesson M&P 15-22, 22 long rifle, and the upper rifle is a DPMS Panther Oracle in 5.56 223 caliber. So let's get started. Show you what I took off first. When it was all said and done, I removed two different buttstocks, a front handguard, at the very beginning, the front and rear sights on one of the rifles, and two pistol grips. So we did a lot to upgrade it over the last few years. My choice in these two rifles, I do have an opportunity to shoot each one once a month in a competition, and so they're quite sufficient for my needs. They are lower cost than many others, because these upgrades you can buy into many fine rifles, 22 as well as the 5.56 caliber. Get lots of whistles and bells added, but then of course you're going to be paying a higher price, and I wanted to get into the competition with a lower priced rifle, and if I kept at it for long enough, maybe I'd start doing some upgrades. So let's get started working from the muzzle back to the rear. In the case of the MP22, it comes with an M-lock front handguard here. This particular vertical grip, well, let me stop right here and show you what brand I got, just so you know that to check it out. For simplicity and convenience buying from local retailers, I got the Magpul products here, front handguard for one of the rifles. Wound up having to get two different types of vertical grips. I got two of the same grips, Magpul, and I wound up, because of size differences, two different types of Magpul stocks for the rifles. Okay, so back to the vertical grip business here. Okay, so the Smith & Wesson comes with the what they call an M-lock, and this particular vertical grip, while it's different, I was able to, with difficulty, to put it on. The installation of the vertical grip here on a Smith & Wesson M&P 15-22, I couldn't find any instructions, and I found it very challenging to secure the anchor bolts using the appropriate hex screw driver that I've got right here. I had to buy this hex screwdriver from a local hardware store to fit in the screws there. It was very challenging to hold down the anchor bolts inside the front handguard while I was trying to screw this down. Once you get started on it, you'll find the same difficulty. In the case of the front handguard here for this AR-15 platform, this particular model, like many of them, the Delta ring, this decompression ring as it's called, is captured with a very strong spring in there, and it takes at least 15, maybe 20 fingers if you're going to try to do this by hand. Yeah, there was a video showing a guy with slip joint pliers, and he did it by himself, but that was beyond me. But fortunately, I was going to connect up with one of my fellow shooters, and he builds AR, so I borrowed his Delta ring removal tool. There is a video that shows you how this is employed. If you can beg, borrow, don't steal it, just beg or borrow the model. You can buy them for about $13 to $15, but this is a very valuable tool. Now, after I did get the Delta ring removed and the old handguard removed, because this is not M-lock compatible, When I did get the handguard removed, I ran across another video, and something to think about if you're going to be changing out your front handguard, where instead of dealing with a special removal tool on this particular brand of AR-15, you just simply unscrew this, much like a bottle top on a jar of peanut butter or something like that. So if you think you might be changing out your front handguard for whatever reason often enough, adding various attachments and all that sort of stuff. Now, in regards to the vertical grip here, it's installed and so forth, but after I got the front handguard, I was so pleased to get both the upper and the lower half installed after struggling to get the original handguard off. I saw another video which suggested, or really recommended, don't put the lower half on until you've installed your vertical grip. That way you can have ready access with the vertical grip and access to the anchor bolts in the inside so they don't turn around while you're putting the screws in and tightening it down. So if you're changing out your front handguard, word of advice, don't install the lower half of the handguard until you get your vertical grip or anything that you need access to up here, and maybe the same if you're going to put a laser or a light or something like that. Don't put them on the rifle until you've got all your attachments there. It's just a whole heck of a lot easier. And speaking about sizes, Magpul offers 3 different sizes of your handguard, so your job will be to determine what is the proper length. On all the boxes of their handguards on the back side, they have the dimensions, so measure it out from your rifle, from wherever, from the delta ring to the gas block or the front sight, whatever the situation may be, and buy the appropriate handguard. Okay, moving to the rear, let's cover the sights real quick. To keep the cost down, this particular model of AR-15 is sold without any sights. There weren't any sights. It's up to the purchaser to get the sights, whether you want iron sights or optics, so that helps keep the cost down. You're not buying a sight that you don't want. And if you'll notice, there is no dust cover here, and there's no bolt assist and all that. Reduces their cost of manufacturing. If those are important features for you, obviously you want to get them. This red doohickey sticking up is nothing more than a chamber flag. The range and competition we shoot at, you have to have a chamber flag in your rifle. Took the advice of some people and went with one of the better named products as far as optics. This is a straightforward red dot here, and I was fortunate, went through gunbroker.com, and was able to get the sight for less than the cost of the rifle. A lot of times, yeah, you want some very good optics. It's worthwhile on the investment, but just the principle of the thing, trying to keep my costs down for my competition, I wanted to try to get a red dot sight that might cost less than the cost of the rifle. Okay, in the case of the 22, you can see the Magpul sights, the front and rear sight. I didn't have any intention of using them, so I removed them and replaced it with another red dot sight here. Again, I was able to get a sight less than the cost of the rifle. In both cases, and it's a very common feature, they have what they call, and you could see it across the top here, the Picatinny rail system. So that made it very simple to attach the optics, no problem. These two optics, while from the same manufacturer, have 2 different types of locking mechanisms, so you may want to look at it if that's important on how you're going to be attaching the optic to your Picatinny rail. Another feature that I changed out early on from the original equipment manufacturer on the AR-15, I was at a gun show and I had too much money in my pocket, and I bought a very interesting looking charging handle, and I said, oh cool, so I used it for a few matches and then it broke. Not a good thing. Fortunately, another shooter loaned me their charging handle. I tried it out, and it's this particular brand. It's ambidextrous, and so you can use it from either the left or right side. Left and right-handed shooters would appreciate having that opportunity. So I've got that. So don't buy too many aftermarket items unless they're relatively proven out, that sort of thing. On the case of the pistol grips, Magpul, and you can see, not trying to advertise, a little disclaimer, I don't get any money and there's no product endorsement for Magpul. It was just more convenient to go to the local retailers and buy Magpul products because they had lots of different things available on the shelf. In any case, came across a video, an excellent video that showed how to make the installation of a different Magpul pistol grip on the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522, which is just what I wanted to know. So great video showing lots of detail, good color. You could see what was going on, good lighting, especially to see where everything was laid out. Recognizing that you've got springs that are retained here in the pistol grip, and the same for your AR-15, so be alert when you're taking the original pistol grip off so the springs don't sprung and you lose them or something like that. Also, you want to read the comments that people make regarding the videos that you're going to be watching. There was one video, this video about replacing the pistol grip on the M&P. One of the commentators mentioned the MOE Plus grip, or Grip Plus, and he found that to be better suited to put on the M&P 1522, and that this curve right where the web of your hand is going to be when it's on the pistol grip comes closer and closing the gap, because the one the fellow making the video of had a considerable gap on his M&P, and so if you'd like to make it look a little bit better where this portion of the back strap on the pistol grip is much better formed. It's a better fit, it's the same deal here, but there's obviously a slight difference in the curvature of the back strap as well as the AR receiver right here. So if you'd just like a better fit, do some shopping. They've got 7 different pistol grips suitable for AR platforms in the Magpul inventory. Now, to replace the pistol grips, you're going to need the right kind of screwdriver with a hex nut on it, so be sure you get one of sufficient length. Borrow or buy your own and so forth, but it takes just a moment to get it off, so if you can borrow one, you're better off. So I'm going to be returning this to my fellow shooting enthusiast there, because it just took a moment to get it off. Now, one of the things, back to the video that I mentioned, the gentleman mentioned, when you're taking off your pistol grip, is the bolt that's inside here. It's a metal bolt that goes into plastic. And if you make a mistake and turn it, unscrew it aggressively, or worse, when you put the bolt, the original bolt back in, you may damage the plastic threads there, and then you're really messed up because the threading goes into the receiver, and I don't know how you're ever going to replace that. So Magpul provides a replacement bolt that is shown in the demonstration. So it was a slotted bolt, didn't need a special screwdriver. So I opted to put in the replacement bolt with this very common long-bladed slotted screwdriver, so that if in the future, if I ever want to replace this pistol grip, all I have to do is get an ordinary slotted screwdriver and very carefully unscrew the bolt that's recessed in here, remove the pistol grip, put a new one on, and I'm good to go. Okay, let's wrap this up with discussing the buttstocks here. If you haven't learned already, essentially with the AR platform rifles, and I think this will apply both for a 22 as well as the 223, 5.56 millimeter, you need to know whether or not the buffer tube is a mil-spec or a commercial spec. There are 2 different sizes. You need to know which your rifle has before you go off and buy it. Now, Magpul, in each of their stocks, has this little yellow card here explaining the minute differences between a commercial and a mil-spec, and there's lots of YouTube videos, but your job is to make sure you know which buffer tube size that you have, commercial or mil-spec, because then when you go and buy your buttstock from Magpul or whatever brand, you make sure that you either get the commercial or the mil-spec buttstock. Which type of buttstock you get, hey, Magpul and other vendors, there are a gazillion types of buttstocks, but fundamentally you need to know what size the buffer tube is, because they all essentially go on the same way. Okay, so from the butt to the muzzle, know your buffer tube size, have the right kind of screwdriver on hand, use another screwdriver if you're going to replace the bolt. 7 different choices in regards to pistol grips from Magpul. Your choice on optics, or maybe you want some sort of telescopic affair. Most of the rifles have Picatinny rails on the top, so it's not an issue. But what you get and how often you're going to use the rifle is probably going to, in a large case, determine what kind of rifle you can get and how you're going to use it. If you're dealing with the rifle that has a delta compression ring over here that requires 15 to 20 fingers to push down on to free up the original handguard, you really want to get one of these tools in your hands, because one person can do it with this tool in hand here, and there are at least not a dozen, but quite a few different vertical grips, and you can find one that's suited to your nature. I chose to get a vertical grip. There's some that are slanted. Some people in their videos to show you the merits of vertical versus slanted vertical grips altogether. So that's what I did to take off all these tools. Again, I can't emphasize too much the importance of, before you undertake any one of these changes in your furniture and all, is do a lot of research on YouTube. There are a lot of excellent do-it-yourself videos on YouTube that'll show you how to do it, save you a lot of time, make sure that you've got the right tools. For example, I had to purchase, my shooting enthusiast did not have this hex screwdriver right here, which was very helpful to get up inside, because this particular model of vertical grip requires you to get up inside. When I say hex nut, you may know these as Allen screws. I had a whole slew of Allen screws, but none of them were long enough to reach up inside the vertical grip to turn the screws. In the case of this particular vertical grip, it did not need, it was convenient to have this. An Allen screw would have worked, Allen screwdriver would have worked just fine, but for this particular vertical grip, I needed the longer reach. Okay, been very patient. Thanks for watching. I hope this video will help you out as far as making the changes easier, more efficient, more effective. Thanks for watching. Bye.